movies, books, television, comics, and of course, video games. Zombies as a concept are more popular now than ever, but they emerged in media as early as the 1920s and 1930s, as far as we know at least. Although zombies have been depicted for much longer from a variety of cultures and their traditions, it was Lovecraft's 1922 Herbert West-Reanimator and Victor Halperin's 1932 White Zombie which introduced zombies as a theme to consumer media. Ever since then, the presence of zombies in our entertainment industries has grown exponentially throughout the decades. Yet from the advent of the 21st century, the popularity of zombies exploded and has now become a staple in popular culture. While I could talk about all the mediums that zombies are present in, I'll namely be talking about their influence in video games, although I may give reference to some television shows or movies when necessary. But the problem with zombie games is that there's just too many of them now. I tried to fit the Wikipedia table of zombie games on my screen for an example, but it wouldn't fit. Now ever since the 1980s, there's been a steady supply and growth of zombie games, but for every pre-2000 zombie game, there's 4 to 5 post-2000 games. Now this isn't inherently bad, the games industry is so much bigger now, and a lot of these are just games with zombies rather than specifically zombie games, but what is this all a symptom of? An oversaturated market. How many games with zombies have you played? Likely more than one. Now, how many zombie games have you played? Still probably more than one. Now, how many of those can you say you thoroughly enjoyed, and that they're unique? There will still be a fair few of them, but especially since 2010 and onwards, there's been an ever-intensifying amount of zombie games which look the same and play the same. Now, this video isn't here to say you can't like zombie games, but I feel it's a smart idea to take a deeper dive into what zombie games consist of, and whether people like them just because they're zombie games or because they're well-made zombie games. With zombie games being at peak popularity, developers and publishers have decided to make zombie games for the sake of making a zombie game. Just like how nowadays, everyone is also making battle royales. They're popular and they're guaranteed to sell, whether they're a large studio or just a few individuals with an indie project. It might sound weird at first, but how many shooters have you played where all you do is shoot? How many platformers have you played where it's just platforming? You probably played a few of each, but what's better, a game where you just platform or a platformer with a unique art design and fun mechanics? There's a lot of games where you just shoot, but how about a shooter battle royale or a shooter simulation where you shoot to survive and be the last alive, or to experience more realistic combat rather than just shooting because there's an enemy in front of you? The oversaturation of zombies in gaming is pretty much turning it into its own genre. The point of many zombie games is to just kill zombies, and you might agree with that and think, what else am I gonna do? While Herbert West-Reanimator featured reanimated zombies, it wasn't just about them. It was one part of his Cthulhu mythos, and the story itself was a homage to Frankenstein. The process of creating zombies is what introduced the characters into a much more darker and twisted world. White Zombie explored the Haitian mythology of a voodoo zombie. It was something completely new in cinema. With these two examples, I'm gonna now move on to some zombie games which I consider both good and bad. Now what I may consider to be the definitive zombie game is Dead Rising. Not only is it set in a more like Romero's classic Dawn of the Dead, but I feel it's a near perfect culmination of what a good, straightforward zombie game should be. The character has a convincing reason to be at the location. Location itself is large and worthwhile to explore, but it isn't so big that invalidates the zombie's threatening presence. There's only a few places where you're actually safe. There is a story, it doesn't have to be amazing, but it's good when it establishes how the zombies came to be and how they behave. The game also needs to be fun. Crazy idea, I know. I feel Dead Rising does fulfill all these criteria, while on the other hand, something like Dead Rising 4 doesn't. First off, I don't think anyone really asked for a fourth installment. The first two were good enough. It brings back Frank West, although with a different voice actor, back to Willamette from the first game. To me this just screams, hey, we've ran out of creativity so we'll just redo the first game but it's in the future or something. It's a zombie game so it doesn't need to be convincing. Wait, you may say, since they stuck with a similar story they'd be able to focus more on gameplay, features and physics. Well, unfortunately you'd be wrong. Crobecat made a video comparing the first and fourth installment. It's evident to see how unrefined and shallow Dead Rising 4 is in comparison. Another issue is that Dead Rising 4 permanently does away with the time limit. While Freeze was lenient, completely doing away with it removes any sense of a threat or pressure on the player. While some people might not like the slow countdown to their failure, it's a zombie game. There's meant to be this sense of impending doom the player feels if they don't progress. If a player doesn't play efficiently, they'll either fail or not get the best ending. Playing Dead Rising with no timer is like playing a Resident Evil game with infinite ammo. You can still die, but the fear and tension instilled within the game is gone. There's no urgency, no scarcity. These games stop being a survival horror and just become zombie killing games. And yet, despite an often tense and overwhelming atmosphere in Dead Rising, as you see the survivor you're escorting get torn apart by zombies, you can still dress up, enjoy the goofiness of the psychopaths, and play around in the mall. I feel it's the best example of a game which focuses primarily on zombies. You have a lot of options to fight them, there's some pressure on the player, but you're also capable of having a good laugh. Two examples of zombie games done wrong are DayZ, the game, not the mod, and H1Z1. With the DayZ mod for Arma 2 igniting a craze for open world survival PvP plus zombies, it was only a matter of time until people would rush to make money out of it. While I enjoyed the DayZ mod, it was a constantly buggy experience. Now sell that buggy experience and it's even more disappointing, especially since it's been in early access for 4 years. H1Z1 shortly followed. Both games arose during the peak of early access games and all the issues that came with that. H1Z1 has been in early access for around 3 years as well, both maintain a 63% total rating on Steam. It's evident now that with the rise of games like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, Fortnite and Escape from Tarkov, that DayZ and H1Z1 missed the mark. With the recent success of these three games, it's evident that it's a better strategy to just make a Battle Royale game than a Battle Royale with zombies. While DayZ and H1Z1 might not be exactly defined as a battle royale and better as a multiplayer survival shooter with zombies, it's close enough and they were the originators of the craze really. Especially since PlayerUnknown's originated as an Arma mod. The person then worked on H1Z1 and later on released his own vision. Say what you will about PUBG, but it was a commercial success and PlayerUnknown clearly learned how to refine and focus on the Battle Royale experience. This is even more obvious with the fact that H1Z1 has been split between zombie survival and a regular Battle Royale now as well. The zombies legitimately felt tacked on for both games, with the already present difficulty of surviving, finding supplies and fighting other players. Having to fight zombies, which were often extremely buggy, soured the experience. If you remember another zombie battle royale game, The War Z, now known as Infestation Survivor Stories, which has a newer version called Infestation The New Z, it goes to exemplify that whether it's an early access game, a cash grab from a small developer or a large developer, zombie battle royale games just aren't that good of an idea. There really is a common theme of so many zombie games either being stuck in early access hell or at least being rushed to release. While something like Dead Island was quite fun, I think it's fair to say that on release it was maybe a bit too buggy. Yet they improved on that, and later on, they released Dying Light, another zombie game by the same developer. Techland realized that zombie games are popular, and rather than doing the bare minimum and rushing out another game, 4 years after Dead Island, Dying Light came out. And it's unique. While on Dead Island you'd really just kill zombies and then craft things to kill zombies with, Dying Light had enjoyable parkour, a beautiful environment, and night times could be legitimately scary and threatening. Then you have a lot of zombie survival games stuck in early access. A few personal ones that I hate to mention are The Dead Linger and Project Zomboid. It's possible that you haven't heard of either, just because of how old they actually are. The Dead Linger was one of the few zombie survivals which I felt had great mechanics and even had decent procedural generation. Yet the developers were too ambitious in their project and ran out of funds. So that game unfortunately died early on, like many early access games and like many zombie games. Then you have Project Zomboid. It's been a while since I've played it, but it used to be a really fun and challenging isometric survival game. But it's another game that's been in early access for 4 years. But unlike many games, the developers are still working on it. There's a general consensus with the negative Steam reviews feeling that the developers are going in the wrong direction. Lots of tiny features being added all the time, but no animation rehaul or NPCs which had been mentioned from over 2 years ago. I feel in a way it's comparable to DayZ. The game isn't dead, but it's on life support. Both will lose even more presence unless the developers can bring out a significant update. Because the longer they take, the more time a competitor has to outshine them. Next I want to talk about licensed zombie games. Obviously, this is going to be about The Walking Dead and how it can be done well and done poorly. First off is Survival Instinct, which sucks. Its main feature is the reprised roles of Daryl and Merle, and that's all really. The gameplay's bad, it looks bad, and just seems to be a cash-in for fans of The Walking Dead and zombie games. You basically do what the characters do in the show. You go to a place, you kill some zombies and find some supplies, then there's some drama or tension, then repeat that about 6 times. The only good thing about the game is that it's a lot shorter than the show, which has no sign of ending anytime soon. Then on the other hand, you have Telltale's Season 1 of The Walking Dead, which is the opposite of Survival Instinct. Rather than it being a bad tie-in to the show and shoving zombies into your face, it has a few connections to the show earlier on, but it mostly tells its own story. While zombies are always a threat, they're not the only one, as you have to deal with threats from strangers and companions alike. The game is an emotional journey with both likeable and hateable characters. It uses the zombies as a part of a plot, but it's not the focus. Despite not being a game about combat or resource conservation, it can still often maintain a feeling of fear and danger without entirely having to be about zombies. I wouldn't extend these compliments to Season 2 or 3 of the game series, as I have other gripes with Telltale, but the first season does well to depict that within a world dominated by zombies, there can still be other tragedies. So these were the main examples I wanted to talk about, what makes a good and bad zombie game. Overall, I think the market for zombie games is completely oversaturated at the moment. On its own, that wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, but with a lot of these zombie games being low effort or being made simply because zombie games are popular, it's just bad. While you can have games that are just about zombies and killing them, like Dead Rising, Left 4 Dead, or Call of Duty Zombies, they're not fun just because of the zombies, they're fun because of the mechanics of which you survive and defeat the zombies. Resident Evil games aren't fun because of zombies, it was the challenge of conserving your medical supplies and ammo to get past the zombies despite being constantly backed into a corner, and also having to do weird puzzles. DayZ didn't become popular just because of zombies, it was the added hostility they brought, where no one location was forever safe and you were often forced into unsteady alliances with other people just to survive. Left 4 Dead wasn't fun just because of zombies, it was fun because of the variety of unique zombies in the game, the likeable main characters, and how it all came together in the gameplay. Even Stalker has zombies, but they're not a focus, they're just to depict the dangers of psi radiation. The zombies themselves are just goofy and a nuisance. Typing of the Dead isn't about zombies, it's a way to make typing more engaging and more urgent. Who here is looking forward to Metal Gear Survive? Probably no one. It's coming out this year and there's no hype at all, because all they're doing is putting zombies and other stuff that doesn't fit into a Metal Gear game to appeal to a broader audience. The most important thing I can summarize from this video is whether you're about to buy a zombie game or are playing one, think of why you want to or why you're enjoying it. Is it just because of zombies or what they do with the zombies as a part of that game? The zombie media craze has been going on for a long time and isn't really dying out, so I felt this video was worth making to help you consider whether it's worth it or not to buy into the craze. What's your favourite zombie game and what's your least favourite? Be sure to leave a comment down below on what you thought and leave a like if you enjoyed. If you haven't yet, I recommend subscribing to the channel and clicking the bell to see when similar content is released. You can keep in touch with me through Discord and Twitter, links are down below. I'm Al, and as always, thanks for watching.